Hey everyone, I'm Justin Grant. Thanks for tuning in to the Aquademia podcast. This is our first Species Spotlight episode, where we talk about a specific species of seafood that maybe you haven't tried, or is a good choice to start including to get more seafood in your diet. Today, Sean, Maddie, and myself sit down to talk about mussels. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Let's talk about seafood.
Welcome to the Aquademia podcast.
Our diet is hurting the environment in myriad ways. I mean, we desperately need to eat more seafood.
This is a pioneering industry with a whole lot of people who have really good ideas and a lot of experience and are unafraid.
Aquademia is your go-to podcast for a fresh take on all things seafood.
That store always upsell their stuff. So they're trying to sell. One of our friends was having a kick on tea and was like, I'm going to buy one of these tea sets. I'm going to get into tea. Super expensive. And they're like, well, this set comes with 3 cups. But in China, to sit down with 3 cups is actually bad luck. So we need to sell you like 3 more cups at like $200. And she bought it. Like she bought everything and spent an insane amount of money. And I was like, I don't care if 3's bad luck. I will drink with 3 and I guarantee nothing will happen.
Careful.
That's what my wife said.
We got some international listeners here. You know what else can be really complicated? Like tea? Seafood. How's that for a transition?
Good
Captain
segue.
Transition over here. So this being our first Species Spotlight episode, we want to talk about simple seafood. Seafood made simple. So today we're talking about mussels because they're delicious and they're super duper easy. Do you eat mussels, Justin?
Absolutely. Mainly because they taste really good. There's multiple ways you can prepare them that are all easy. And they're cheap.
They're super cheap. I've seen mussels down to like a little more than 50 cents a pound at some points. Like
I bought like a giant bag of them, and I don't know how much that bag actually weighed, but it cost like $3, and I fed the entire family.
How many mussels did you get? 1 metric giant bag.
I got $3 worth, and this is a monster bag.
Maddie, do you like mussels? Do you eat mussels?
I love mussels. I love eating them with like vegetables on the side and making like a mussel stir fry. It's just so good.
We usually eat them as an appetizer in my house.
So good.
We really
I'll
like
order 'em as
mussels.
an
We
appetizer
usually
at a
just do them in like a frying pan with some white wine with the cover on until they all open up, and then just butter them up. And it's so good.
That sounds really good.
I'm more of a garlic white type sauce than I am the red.
Like a creamy sauce.
Yeah, because then you can get bread on like a baguette, and you can dip that in the sauce. Ooh.
So we should probably talk about where they come from. So just if people don't eat seafood, mussels are not the most attractive looking food when they're not in their shells. So to give people an idea of just get more comfortable with mussels, where they come from, a lot of times they are farmed, but they grow everywhere. You can find mussels. Like if you go down to the dock in whatever coastal city is closest to you, you'll see mussels growing on something. They're everywhere. They're fouling creatures. So when they're farmed, for those of you who don't know how this works, there usually is a raft out in the sea with a bunch of ropes, lines hanging down, and they're seated with these socks around the ropes that have little baby mussels. And then when the mussels attach to the ropes, they just grow on these ropes till they get to market size.
Baby mussels like my mussels. I had to, I'm sorry.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, usually my brain has, at this point, calculated like 3 jokes, and I had nothing.
You're welcome. And one of the coolest things about mussels is that they're actually filter feeders. So they're really good for the water that they're placed in or that they're growing in, because they filter the water as they go. So they'll eat all of the negative nutrient bacteria that's in the water that might cause like algae blooms or things like that. And they'll eat it and use it as fuel for them to grow, and then make the water that they're in a better place, healthier for fish, healthier for people to be swimming around in. So They just make a great environment.
It's a good choice for that reason, because they're very low input. You don't feed mussels. If you're growing mussels, you don't need to feed them. They'll just grow, and then you harvest them. The one thing Well, there's a couple different things. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to scare people away, because these mussels are delicious and generally safe and easy. But the problems come with farming mussels when you hit what's called your carrying capacity for the area that you're growing it in. So this idea of them collecting nutrients from the water can actually work against them if you get too many mussels in one area, that the body of water that they're growing in can't handle that many mussels, and then you get a depletion you get a depletion of the nutrients in the water to the point where there's not enough nutrients to sustain the amount of mussels that you have in there. So farmers need to know what the production carrying capacity is for their area that they leased to farm these mussels, to make sure that they don't exceed that, and that there's enough nutrients in the water for them to successfully grow their mussels to a certain size, as well as any other farms that are around them. So there are some limitations in growing these. You can't just put a bunch of lines out there and say, hey, I'm going to grow mussels and like make a living off farming millions and millions and millions of pounds of mussels every day, because there are regulations around that stuff. So,
but if you're going to choose seafood, and if mussels is going to be your option, choose sustainable or responsibly farmed mussels, and all those regulations you were just talking about take place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with mussel farming, I think it's similar to wild lobster fishing, because I think the farmers tend to understand how important that is and beneficial. I mean, if you get greedy and you try to grow too many lobsters, they're not going to grow, and you're going to figure that out pretty quickly when you're harvesting little tiny mussels.
I wonder how many different species of mussels we eat, because I live in Maine, and when I order mussels or buy mussels, it's always the same shelled color. It's usually mussel. I wonder if there's different ones.
The species that normally you'll see is blue mussels, Mytilus edulus, and that's the most common, and that's the regular medium-sized, really dark blue or black shell, and it's blue and white on the inside, the shell. But
that's the one.
Yeah, you'll see every once in a while you'll see some zebra mussels thrown in, which is like have the stripes on them, and those can be invasive species in some waters, and they are invasive in some waters, so you'll see those thrown in somewhere. Sometimes you also see green lip mussels. A lot of times if you go to like the American Chinese buffet restaurants, they'll have green lip mussels, which are really long shells, and the tip of them have the bright green tip on the shells. I don't like those as much, but the blue mussels are what we usually get.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I've never had a zebra mussel before. In Vermont, they're invasive and kind of destroyed the Lake Champlain ecosystem. So there's regulations when you pull your boat out to make sure you pull off all your zebra mussels so you don't
I guess
dump them off
zebra
in another
mussels,
lake.
are they a freshwater species? They must be then, right?
Well,
I don't know too much about them.
Thriving in freshwater in Vermont.
I can't claim to know too much about zebra mussels. I just do know that they have been known to be a invasive species. And
they are. Yes. It's not good.
Yeah. Likely if you go to the grocery store though, and they're advertising mussels 89 cents a pound or $1.50 a pound, whatever it is, they're likely going to be blue mussels, which are delicious. So we actually have a recipe on our blog, and we'll link to it in the show notes, where Chef Barton Seaver cooked for us. We all went to his house one day and filmed him cooking some mussels and a couple other dishes, and it was super easy. I don't remember what he put in there, but you can watch the video. And
he put in like scallions, tomatoes, garlic, all these amazing...
Some wine, maybe? You put wine in it?
He did put some white wine in.
Yeah. Literally, you like rinse off the mussels, get rid of any that are open, because that means that they're dead and you don't want those. Throw them in the pan with all the other ingredients and
steam it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then once the shells like start to open, then they're done, and you can serve it and eat it with some bread, and it is so delicious.
Yeah. So check it out. Let us know what you think. Tell us your experiences. You can email us at podcast@aquaculturealliance.org or leave us a voicemail at 1-603-384-3560. Let us know if you tried mussels for the first time, or if you found a new recipe, how easy it was, how delicious it was, how not so delicious it was. We want to hear your experiences, so let us know, and maybe we'll play it on the show. Who knows? Thanks for listening to the Aquademia podcast. This was our first species spotlight episode talking about mussels. So with that, I'm Sean O'Laughlin.
I'm Justin Grant.
And I'm Maddie Cassidy.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone.